If you believe no one should go through this alone, hit that like button now. The homeless woman entered the courthouse wearing her only clothes: torn sweatpants, stained jacket, worn shoes with holes. She carried a plastic bag with her documents. She was 72, living on streets, but she was there to testify, to tell the truth about an accident she'd witnessed. The judge looked at her with contempt. This is your key witness, a homeless vagrant who probably was drunk when she claims to have seen something. Look at her state, ladies and gentlemen. Can we really trust her? The courtroom laughed. The woman trembled with humiliation, then footsteps. Heavy, purposeful. 50 Hell's Angels entered, led by their president, 6'3", 290, covered in leather and ink. He walked to the judge's bench, spoke calmly but with absolute authority. Your Honor seems to be mocking this lady. Allow me to clarify something. Dorothy Martinez, everyone called her Dot, was 72 years old and homeless. She'd been living on Phoenix streets for 18 months. Not by choice, by circumstance. 18 months ago, her subsidized apartment building was sold to luxury developers. All elderly tenants on fixed incomes were evicted with minimal notice. Dot had nowhere to go. She survived on Social Security, $847 monthly, not enough for Phoenix rent, which averaged $1,200 for studio apartments. Her husband had died 5 years ago. Cancer. He was a Vietnam veteran. Good man. They'd had one son. He died in a workplace accident 8 years ago. Dot was alone, completely alone. She lived in shelters when beds were available, under a viaduct near downtown when they weren't. She kept her dignity despite everything, carried her few belongings in a shopping cart, did odd jobs, washing windows, collecting cans, for food money. January 15th, 2025, Tuesday evening. Dot was sitting near a bus stop downtown, resting, watching people. Then she heard it, screeching tires, impact, screaming. A car, black BMW, had run a red light, hit 3 pedestrians in the crosswalk, didn't stop, sped away, hit and run. Dot saw everything, including the license plate. She memorized it immediately. AHF 7392. Years of poverty had sharpened her memory. When you have nothing, you remember everything. She ran to the nearest police station, 3 blocks. Her old legs barely made it. Officer, I witnessed hit and run. 3 people hit. Black BMW, license plate AHF 7392. The desk sergeant looked at her. Homeless woman, dirty clothes, shopping cart outside. Ma'am, were you drinking, using drugs? No, I'm sober. I saw it clearly. Black BMW, plate AHF 7392. You need to find that car before he gets away. The sergeant sighed, wrote it down, ran the plate. His expression changed. This plate is registered to Christopher Ashford Jr., son of Judge Christopher Ashford Sr. Are you absolutely certain? Yes, I saw him. Young man, maybe late 20s, panicked, drove away fast. The sergeant made calls. Detectives arrived, took Dot's statement seriously once they confirmed her details matched the accident scene. By midnight, Christopher Ashford Jr. was arrested, charged with DUI, 3 counts vehicular assault, leaving the scene. But then, complications. Christopher Ashford Sr., the boy's father, was a state judge, wealthy, connected, powerful. He had influence. The prosecution offered a plea deal, probation instead of prison. The justification: witness credibility issues. She's homeless. Defense will destroy her testimony. The case went to preliminary hearing in March to determine if it would proceed to trial. Dot received a subpoena. She was required to testify. March 20th, 2025, 9 a.m. Dot arrived at Maricopa County Courthouse, wearing literally her only clothes: faded sweatpants with tears, dirty stained jacket, worn shoes with holes. She hadn't been able to shower properly in days. Shelter was full. She carried a plastic bag with her documents. She looked homeless, because she was, but she was there to tell the truth. The hearing was in Courtroom 4B, Judge Christopher Ashford Sr. presiding. Massive conflict of interest. He should have recused himself since his own son was the defendant, but he didn't. Arrogance or corruption or both. Dot entered the courtroom, sat in the witness area. felt eyes on her, judging her appearance, her poverty, her existence. The prosecutor called her to the stand. She walked forward. Shopping cart left outside the courthouse, plastic bag in hand, trembling slightly. Judge Ashford looked at her with obvious contempt, then spoke loudly, ensuring everyone heard, "This is your key witness, a homeless vagrant who probably was drunk or high when she claims to have witnessed something. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, observe the deplorable state of this witness. She can barely care for herself. Are we really going to trust her to recall details of an accident?" The courtroom laughed. Defense attorneys smirked. Dot stood there, humiliated, shaking, tears forming. What Judge Ashford didn't know, Reaper was sitting in the back row. Reaper, president of Devil's Riders Motorcycle Club, Phoenix Chapter, 58, Navy veteran, 6'3", 290, covered in tattoos and leather. He was there because his wife Maria worked as a court clerk. She'd mentioned this case that morning, homeless elderly woman testifying against rich judge's son. It interested Reaper, sounded like injustice, so he came, brought 9 club brothers to observe. When Reaper heard the judge mock Dot publicly, something ignited inside him, moral fury. This vulnerable woman was trying to do the right thing, testify truthfully despite her desperate circumstances, and this corrupt judge was humiliating her publicly to protect his criminal son. Reaper stood, walked down the center aisle, footsteps heavy, deliberate. 9 Devil's Riders followed in military formation, silent but intimidating. Reaper stopped directly in front of the judge's bench, looked up at Ashford, spoke calmly but with absolute authority. "Your Honor, I see you're ridiculing this lady for her appearance and situation. Allow me to clarify something." The courtroom went silent. 50 more Devil's Riders entered. They'd been waiting outside, summoned by text, when Reaper started walking. "My name is Reaper, president of Devil's Riders. These are my brothers. We came today because we heard a courageous witness was being intimidated in your courtroom. Now I'll make this simple, Mrs. Dorothy is getting proper legal representation. Our attorneys are already en route. She's getting dignified clothes. We've already arranged that. She's getting all support necessary to testify truthfully. And Your Honor is going to administer this case with absolute impartiality or recuse yourself for obvious conflict of interest. Or we ensure every media organization, every civil rights group, and every judicial oversight authority in Arizona knows exactly what we witnessed today. A corrupt judge protecting his criminal son while humiliating a vulnerable homeless witness. Your choice, Your Honor, justice or national scandal." Absolute silence. 50 massive bikers filled the courtroom, an impossible-to-ignore physical presence. Judge Ashford went pale. He was accustomed to intimidating vulnerable people, completely unprepared to be confronted by men who didn't fear his power, men who'd witnessed his corruption and clearly wouldn't stay silent. This is contempt of court. No, Your Honor, this is justice. 50 witnesses to your misconduct. We're not threatening, we're promising. You administer justice properly or face consequences. Your choice. We're waiting. Judge Ashford made a decision. Self-preservation. Court is in recess, 1 hour. When we reconvene, I expect proper decorum. He fled to his chambers, made frantic calls. His judicial colleagues advised immediately, "Christopher, recuse yourself. This is massive conflict of interest. You've been caught. Salvage what you can." Reaper approached Dot, who was still standing at the witness stand, shaking. "Ma'am, I'm Reaper, president of Devil's Riders. We're here to help." "What's your name?" "Dorothy Martinez. Everyone calls me Dot." Thank you. I thought I was alone." "You're not alone, not anymore. You're doing the right thing, testifying truthfully. That takes courage. We respect courage. We protect people who do right thing. Come with us." 3 female members of the club, wives and partners of riders, took Dot to the courthouse bathroom. They'd brought clean clothes, nice pants, blouse, jacket, new shoes, toiletries. Let Dot shower in the courthouse facility, helped her dress, did her hair. When Dot emerged 45 minutes later, she looked completely different, clean, dignified. dressed appropriately for court, still elderly, still poor, but no longer looking homeless. "You didn't have to do this," Dot said, crying. "Yes, we did. You deserve dignity. Everyone does. Now let's get you legal representation." The Devil's Riders attorneys arrived, two sharp lawyers from a firm that did pro bono work for the club. They interviewed Dot quickly, reviewed her testimony, prepared her properly. When court reconvened, the courtroom was packed. 50 Devil's Riders sitting in every available seat. Media had arrived. Word spread fast about biker intervention. Judicial oversight officials were present. Someone had called them. Judge Ashford returned. Announced, "After consideration, I'm recusing myself from this case due to conflict of interest. Judge Maria Rodriguez will preside going forward." He left quickly, career saved by bare minimum ethical action, done only under pressure. Judge Rodriguez, fair, tough, respected, took over. "Mrs. Martinez, please take the stand." Dot did. Looking dignified now, represented by attorneys, supported by 50 bikers. She testified clearly, remembered everything: license plate, car description, driver's appearance, timeline. Her testimony was unshakable. Defense attorneys tried attacking her credibility. "Mrs. Martinez, you're homeless. You have memory issues. You were likely intoxicated." Her attorney objected. "Your Honor, Mrs. Martinez is a 72-year-old woman with no criminal record, no substance abuse history, and perfect mental clarity. She's homeless due to economic circumstances beyond her control, not moral failing. Her testimony is credible." Judge Rodriguez sustained the objection. "Proceed without attacking the witness's character based on housing status." The defense crumbled. Dot's testimony was too clear, too detailed, too credible. Christopher Ashford Jr. was bound over for trial. Bail was revoked. Flight risk given his family's resources and his previous attempt to flee the accident scene. After the hearing, Reaper approached Dot outside the courthouse. "You did great. Told the truth. That's all that matters. Thank you, all of you, for giving me dignity, for supporting me. I couldn't have done that alone. You're not alone anymore. We're your family now. You need anything, housing, food, support, you come to us, understand? I don't want charity. Not charity, family. You showed courage today. We honor courage. That's who we are." Within 1 week, the Devil's Riders had mobilized for Dot. They found her subsidized housing, a studio apartment in Senior Complex, rent covered by club donations, furnished it completely. Set up monthly stipend, $500 supplementing her Social Security, giving her $1,347 monthly, enough to live with dignity. "Why?" Dot asked when they showed her the apartment. "Because you deserved better than living under a viaduct," Reaper said. "Because you did the right thing despite having nothing. Because courage deserves response. Your family now. Family gets support." At the trial 3 months later, Dot testified again. Same clear testimony, same unshakable credibility. Christopher Ashford Jr. was convicted on all counts, sentenced to 8 years prison. His father, Judge Christopher Ashford Sr., was investigated by Judicial Ethics Board. Findings: conflict of interest, abuse of power, witness intimidation. He was forced to resign, disbarred, lost his position, his reputation, his career. "Justice," Reaper told Dot after sentencing. "You made that happen. Your courage, your testimony." "We made it happen," Dot corrected. "You gave me dignity to testify properly. You protected me. This is our justice." At 1 year after the courthouse intervention, Dot was thriving, living in her apartment, attending senior center activities, making friends, volunteering at homeless shelter, helping others like she'd been helped. "How's life?" Reaper asked during a visit. "Better than I've had in years. I'm safe, warm, fed, dignified." "Because you all refused to let that judge humiliate me, thank you. You humiliated him by being right. We just made sure you had the platform to show it." The story had gone viral. Homeless woman defended by 50 bikers against corrupt judge. National coverage. The video, someone had recorded Reaper's courtroom intervention on phone. had 50 million views. Comments were overwhelmingly supportive. This is what justice looks like. The Hell's Angels are heroes. That judge got what he deserved. The Devil's Riders established Dot's Dignity Fund, helping homeless people who needed support to participate in legal proceedings, providing clothes, representation, housing assistance, ensuring poverty didn't prevent justice. We saw how easily homeless people are dismissed by the system, club members explained. How judges and lawyers assume poverty equals dishonesty or incompetence. We're ensuring that doesn't happen. Everyone deserves dignity in court. Dot showed us that. We're honoring her courage. At 5 years, the fund had helped over 200 homeless individuals participate properly in legal proceedings, as witnesses, as defendants, as plaintiffs, all given dignity, representation, support. Dot's intervention changed how Arizona courts treat homeless people, legal scholars noted. Judges are more careful, attorneys more respectful. The system improved because 50 bikers said no more. That's community accountability working. At 10 years, Dot was 82, still living independently, still volunteering, still grateful. The Devil's Riders checked on her weekly. She'd become club grandmother. Everyone loved her. 10 years ago, I was living under a bridge, Dot told people, being mocked by a judge for being poor. Then 50 bikers stood up for me, gave me dignity, changed my life. Now I help others. That's how you honor a gift. You pass it forward. At 20 years, Dot passed away peacefully, 92 years old, at home, surrounded by family, biological family that had reconnected, and Devil's Riders family that had never left. Her obituary noted, Dorothy Martinez, homeless woman who stood up to corruption with help of 50 bikers. She proved dignity isn't determined by housing status. Her funeral drew 5,000 people, Devil's Riders from across the Southwest, homeless people she'd helped, legal advocates, ordinary people inspired by her story. Reaper gave the eulogy. Dot walked into that courthouse alone, vulnerable, being mocked. She left supported, dignified, victorious. She taught us that courage exists everywhere, even in people society dismisses. We're grateful we got to be her family. Rest in peace, Grandma Dot. You changed us all. Sometimes dignity is given by those society fears. Sometimes justice requires unconventional defenders. Sometimes 50 bikers are exactly what Courtroom needs. Dot proved it. The Devil's Riders honored it. Thousands benefited from the lesson. Forever. If this story moves you, please like and share. Justice belongs to everyone. Though at 30 years after Dot's courageous courthouse testimony and the Devil's Riders' intervention, the impact of that single moment had rippled far beyond one elderly woman's vindication. The confrontation between Reaper and Judge Ashford had become legendary in both legal and advocacy circles, taught in law school ethics courses as an example of judicial corruption exposed, and referenced constantly in discussions about how poverty affects access to justice. The Martinez intervention, legal scholars called it, the moment when 50 motorcycle club members entered a courtroom and forced accountability on a corrupt system that routinely dismissed vulnerable people. That intervention had created lasting change in Arizona's judicial system and inspired similar advocacy nationwide. Dot's Dignity Fund had grown exponentially over 3 decades, operating now in 43 states with annual budget exceeding $20 million. The fund provided comprehensive support for homeless and impoverished individuals involved in legal proceedings, clothing appropriate for court, temporary housing during trial periods, legal representation, transportation, and dignity coaching, teaching people how to present themselves effectively despite economic hardship. We're successful because we never forgot Dot's humiliation, fund directors explained during interviews. We remember a 72-year-old woman being mocked by a judge for being poor. We remember 50 bikers saying that's unacceptable. We've spent 30 years ensuring it never happens again. Over 15,000 people helped. Hundreds of cases won that would have been lost if witnesses had been dismissed for looking poor. The viral video of Reaper confronting Judge Ashford had been viewed over 500 million times across 3 decades, one of the most watched videos in internet history related to judicial accountability. Comments remained overwhelmingly supportive. This is what justice looks like when regular people fight back. The devil's riders are heroes. Every courtroom needs 50 bikers watching for corruption. Christopher Ashford Sr., the disgraced judge, had never recovered from the scandal. Disbarred, reputation destroyed. He'd attempted to rebuild his life, but the video followed him everywhere. He'd become a cautionary tale about judicial corruption and the consequences of abusing power against vulnerable people. His son, Christopher Ashford Jr., served his full 8-year sentence, released at 36. Struggled with employment, felony record made everything difficult, eventually found work doing manual labor, living quietly, trying to rebuild. Both father and son had learned that actions have consequences, that corruption doesn't stay hidden forever, and that even the powerful can fall when witnesses have the courage to speak truth. At 35 years after the intervention, Reaper passed away. 93 years old, heart failure, peaceful death at home surrounded by club members and extended family that now included dozens of people the Devil's Riders had helped over the decades, including several who'd been supported by Dot's Dignity Fund. His funeral drew 30,000 people, largest gathering in Arizona history. Devil's Riders from every chapter nationwide, homeless advocates, legal reform activists, formerly homeless people whose lives had been changed by programs inspired by Dot's story, ordinary citizens who believed that justice should be accessible to everyone, regardless of economic status. The eulogy was delivered by Judge Maria Rodriguez, now retired but still influential, the judge who'd taken over Dot's case after Ashford recused himself. Reaper was not a lawyer, not a judge, not even a conventional activist. He was a biker, a man society often feared and misunderstood. But when he saw injustice in my courtroom 35 years ago, he acted. 50 men stood up and said no more. They gave Dorothy Martinez the dignity to testify truthfully. They exposed corruption. They forced accountability. That's what heroes do. They act when others stay silent. Reaper was a hero. We honor him by continuing the work he started. 30,000 people stood in silent tribute, understanding they were honoring not just one man but a principle, that justice requires action, that corruption must be confronted, and that sometimes unconventional defenders are exactly what society needs. At 40 years, the 40th anniversary of Dot's courthouse testimony was marked with major commemorative events across Arizona. The original Courtroom 4B had been renamed Martinez Dignity Courtroom, a permanent reminder that every person deserves respect regardless of economic status. A bronze plaque outside read, "Here, Dorothy Martinez testified with courage. Here, 50 Devil's Riders defended dignity. Here, justice prevailed over corruption. Remember, poverty is not crime. Homelessness is not dishonesty. Everyone deserves respect." The commemoration drew 20,000 attendees, speeches from legal reformers, performances honoring Dot and Reaper, announcements of new programs expanding access to justice for impoverished populations. 40 years ago, a corrupt judge mocked a homeless woman in this building, speakers declared. 50 bikers said that was unacceptable. That moment changed how Arizona and eventually America treats poor people in courtrooms. We've helped tens of thousands since then. We've trained thousands of lawyers in dignity-based advocacy. We've changed laws in 30 states protecting vulnerable witnesses. All because one woman was brave and 50 men defended her courage. Udrine, at 75 years after that courthouse confrontation, both Dot and Reaper were long gone. Dot at 92, Reaper at 93. But their story remained culturally powerful, referenced constantly in discussions about judicial reform, witness protection, and the role of community accountability in legal systems. The Martinez Standard, it was called in legal circles. The principle that judges must treat all witnesses with equal dignity regardless of economic status, housing situation, or appearance. Violations of the Martinez Standard had become grounds for judicial discipline in 47 states. Hundreds of judges had been sanctioned or removed for treating poor witnesses with contempt or mockery. The video of Reaper's intervention was now archived in the Library of Congress as historically significant documentation of grassroots judicial accountability. It was studied in law schools, sociology courses, and community organizing programs as an example of how ordinary people, even people society fears, can force systemic change when they refuse to accept injustice. DOT's Dignity Fund had evolved into the Martinez Legal Justice Network, international organization operating in 60 countries. Budget exceeding $500 million annually. Over 200,000 people helped across 75 years. The network provided comprehensive support, ensuring poverty never prevented someone from participating effectively in legal proceedings. DOT showed us that poor people have truth and courage, just like wealthy people, network directors explained. But they need support to present that truth effectively. We provide that support. We ensure Martinez Standard is lived, not just talked about. That's DOT and Reaper's legacy through us. The Devil's Riders had been permanently transformed by DOT's story and their response to it. Once feared outlaw club, now internationally respected justice advocacy organization. They maintained partnerships with legal aid societies in 90 cities. They trained members in courtroom observation, attending trials to ensure judges treated poor witnesses with dignity. They funded legal clinics. They were an essential component of justice reform movements. DOT changed us forever, members explained. Before her, we were bikers protecting bikers. After her, we became defenders of anyone facing injustice. That's our identity now. That's our purpose, because of one woman's courage and one president's decision to defend her dignity. At 100 years, the centennial of DOT's testimony was a global event. Representatives from every nation where Martinez Legal Justice Network operated attended ceremonies in Phoenix. 50,000 people gathered at the renamed Martinez Justice Center, formerly Maricopa County Courthouse, now dedicated entirely to providing dignified legal services for impoverished populations. 100 years ago, Dorothy Martinez walked into a courtroom wearing torn clothes, speakers declared. A corrupt judge mocked her. 50 bikers said that was unacceptable. That moment created a century of ensuring poor people get justice. We've helped over 5 million people globally. We've changed laws in 150 countries. We've proven that poverty doesn't equal dishonesty, that homelessness doesn't equal unreliability, that dignity belongs to everyone. Thank you, DOT. Thank you, Reaper. Thank you, Devil's Riders, for teaching us that justice requires defending the vulnerable. The original courtroom, where everything happened, had been preserved perfectly. Now museum and education center. 2 million visitors annually walked through, seeing where DOT testified, where Reaper confronted Ashford, where 50 bikers filled every seat demanding accountability. This is sacred ground, tour guides explained. Here, courage met defense. Here, corruption met accountability. Here, one woman and 50 bikers proved that justice is possible even when powerful people try to prevent it. Stand here. Remember that you can make difference. That confronting injustice works. That dignity matters. At 150 years, DOT's sesquicentennial was humanity's largest coordinated celebration of judicial reform. Simultaneous events in every nation. 100 million people participating globally. Honoring 150 years of ensuring poor people get justice inspired by one woman's courage and one biker club's defense. Dorothy Martinez testified with courage 150 years ago, world leaders declared in unison. 50 Devil's Riders defended her dignity. That exchange created 150 years of justice reform. We've helped 50 million people globally. We've changed how every legal system treats impoverished witnesses. We've proven that dignity is non-negotiable. That's Dot and Reaper's permanent gift to humanity. At 200 years after Dot walked into that courthouse, her story had become foundational mythology in global justice systems. Every law student learned about the Martinez intervention. Every judge was trained in the Martinez standard. Every legal system had adopted protocols, ensuring poverty never prevented effective participation in justice proceedings. The Martinez Principle, it was called in international law, the concept that economic status cannot diminish credibility, that appearance cannot justify dismissing testimony, that every witness deserves dignity regardless of circumstances. This principle was enshrined in legal codes of 193 nations. Violations resulted in immediate judicial removal. The Martinez Legal Justice Network operated universally now. Every nation, every community, annual budget exceeding $50 billion globally, over 500 million people helped across 2 centuries. Results were undeniable. Conviction rates for crimes with impoverished witnesses had increased 70% since Martinez's standard implementation. Poor people finally had equal access to justice. The Devil's Riders, now 50th generation since Reaper, continued their justice advocacy mission globally. 100,000 members across 6 continents, all trained in courtroom observation, witness support, and confronting judicial corruption. They'd become respected partners to legal systems worldwide. "We'll never forget Dot," members said. 2 centuries ago, she walked into a courtroom and was mocked for being poor. Our founders said that's unacceptable. That response created 2 centuries of ensuring it never happens again. That's our purpose, forever. Dot's lesson endures. Courage means testifying truthfully despite having nothing. Dignity belongs to everyone. Poverty doesn't equal dishonesty. Reaper's lesson endures. Confronting corruption works. Defending vulnerable people is everyone's duty. Sometimes 50 bikers are exactly what justice needs. Together, they proved that 1 courageous woman and 50 defensive bikers can change how humanity administers justice. 200 years, 500 million people helped, global justice transformed. All because homeless woman testified and bikers defended her dignity. That's the power of courage meeting defense. That's the miracle of confronting corruption. That's the legacy that never dies. Thank you, Dot, for being brave when ridiculed, for testifying despite humiliation, for showing us courage has no address. Thank you, Reaper and Devil's Riders, for defending dignity, for confronting corruption, for teaching us justice requires action. The lesson lives forever. Defend the vulnerable. Confront corruption. Everyone deserves dignity. Never mock poverty. Never dismiss poor witnesses. Never let corruption go unchallenged. Because Dot testified. Because Reaper defended. Because 50 bikers demanded justice. 500 million people got it forever. That's the truth. That's the power. That's the legacy. Defend, confront, ensure dignity. Always.